Do you guys still talk, or is it kind of a little resistance right now because
I ain't spoke with him in about a month.
Oh.
Maybe about a month.
Every few years, hip-hop's past refuses to stay buried. Old clips resurface, old wounds reopen, and suddenly the internet acts shocked that legends once lived dangerously. This time, it's Lil Wayne and Birdman back in the headlines, not over money, contracts, or respect, but over disturbing footage that fans swear shows something far darker. The clip hit timelines like a jump scare. Labeled everything from misunderstood to downright terrifying, and within hours, the internet was in full detective mode. Slow motion. Zoom-in's armchair psychology. Everyone suddenly became a body language expert with Wi-Fi. And the wildest part, nobody can agree on what they're actually seeing. Some say it's proof of unresolved violence. Others say it's reckless exaggeration fueled by years of beef. But once the word allegedly enters the chat, the damage is already done. Because in hip-hop, perception travels faster than facts. Birdman stayed quiet. Wayne's past resurfaced. And the culture started asking questions it hasn't asked in years. This isn't just about a clip. It's about a relationship that built an empire and nearly destroyed it. And once you see how this footage reignited everything, you'll understand why the internet couldn't let it go. This didn't erupt because the footage was new. It detonated because the history behind it never stopped bleeding. Lil Wayne and Birdman aren't just two rappers with a complicated past. They're a blueprint of how mentorship, money, loyalty, and power can twist into something unrecognizable when success multiplies faster than trust. So when disturbing footage allegedly showing an aggressive moment between Wayne and Birdman resurfaced, it didn't land like a random clip. It landed like a forgotten chapter, ripping itself out of the archive and demanding to be read out loud. The internet didn't ask whether it should reopen that book. It flipped the pages violently and started arguing over every sentence. The clip itself is chaotic, grainy, and painfully open to interpretation, which is exactly why it went nuclear. Some viewers swear it shows Wayne acting with dangerous intent. Others argue it's a moment stripped of context and inflated by years of unresolved beef. But online, uncertainty doesn't slow narratives down. It accelerates them. Instead of asking what actually happened, people pick the version that fit the story they already believed. Words like attempt, intent, and violence started circulating, while a smaller group kept repeating the most important word in the entire situation: allegedly. That word matters in real life. On the internet, it barely survives the headline. To understand why this clip hit so hard, you have to rewind to the foundation. Wayne wasn't just signed to Birdman. He was molded there, raised there, built there. Cash Money wasn't just a label. It was a system that produced superstars while quietly stacking tension behind the scenes. Over the years, the cracks became public, lawsuits over money, interviews dripping with disappointment, lyrics that sounded less like metaphors and more like therapy sessions with a beat. Fans watched it all like a slow-motion train derailment, hoping reconciliation would stick every time it appeared. But hope doesn't erase history. It just delays the next explosion. So when this footage resurfaced, it didn't introduce a new theory. It validated suspicions people already carried. That beneath the reunions, the smiles, and the public peace treaties, something unresolved still lurked. Reaction channels wasted no time. The clip was slowed down, zoomed in, narrated like a crime. Documentary teaser. Every gesture became a clue. Every movement was assigned intention. Some voices rushed to declare it proof of a moment gone too far. Others warned against confusing heated energy with criminal behavior. But warnings don't trend. Accusations do. And once the word viral attaches itself to something this sensitive, restraint disappears completely. Birdman's silence only intensified the speculation. In hip-hop culture, silence is never neutral. It's read as strategy by some and guilt by others. Wayne supporters moved fast to defend him, arguing the clip was misleading, weaponized, and irresponsible to frame the way it was being framed. Critics pushed back just as aggressively, saying the footage fit too neatly with years of tension to be dismissed as nothing. The internet split into camps, not based on evidence, but on loyalty. And loyalty online isn't about facts. It's about identity. People defended or attacked not because they knew, but because they felt aligned. As the debate grew louder, context became collateral damage. Old interviews resurfaced, stripped of nuance and stitched together like a conspiracy board. Quotes were pulled without timelines. Emotions from a decade ago were treated like current reality. The story morphed from "what is this clip?" into "what does this prove?" That's when things got dangerous. Because once a narrative shifts from curiosity to confirmation, every detail is forced to cooperate. The clip stopped being a moment and became a symbol. And symbols don't need accuracy to spread. They just need outrage.memes followed, because the internet can't help itself. Some were dark, some were reckless. Some pretended to be jokes while quietly pushing a conclusion. Comparisons were made to infamous rap feuds that ended tragically, as if history was lining up to repeat itself on schedule. Comment sections read, like a collision between a fan forum and a true crime thread, with armchair analysts diagnosing intent like they were in the room. The louder it got, the less responsible it became. And responsibility doesn't go viral nearly as fast as shock. What really fueled the fire was how quickly language slipped from alleged to assumed. Headlines flirted with implication without crossing legal lines, but the comments crossed them easily. People spoke with certainty where there was none. Others tried to slow the conversation down, reminding viewers that viral footage doesn't equal verified truth. But once an image lodges itself in the public imagination, it's almost impossible to extract. That's the dark magic of viral media. It doesn't prove anything. It convinces people they don't need proof by the end. Of this first wave, one thing was undeniable. The footage reopened a wound hip-hop never truly closed. Not because it showed something conclusively criminal, but because it reminded everyone how volatile the Wayne-Birdman relationship has always been beneath the surface. The clip didn't create suspicion, it amplified it, and, as the internet kept replaying, reposting, and reinterpreting, the question shifted from "what are we seeing?" to "what are we willing to believe?" And once belief takes over, facts are forced to chase it instead of leading. Once the footage finished its first lap around the internet, the second lap turned it into a spectacle. This is where curiosity morphed into conviction and commentary, slipped into performance art. Reaction channels didn't just react anymore, they escalated. Thumbnails screamed exposed, and this changes everything, even though nothing had actually changed except the volume. The clip was slowed down, sped up, mirrored, color-corrected, and narrated like a thriller trailer. Every pause became suspicious. Every gesture was treated like intent. The internet wasn't trying to understand what happened. It was auditioning for who could sound the most certain while knowing the least. Memes carried the story further than facts ever could. Screenshots froze Wayne mid-motion and Birdman mid-expression, then slapped captions on them that pretended to be jokes while steering viewers toward a conclusion. Dark humor thrived. So did reckless speculation. The more outrageous the caption, the faster it traveled. People compared the resurfaced clip to infamous rap feuds that ended in tragedy, as if history was a loop and the algorithm was the DJ. It was less analysis and more prophecy, with everyone acting like the next episode had already been written. Celebrity-adjacent voices chimed in with vague posts about context, brotherhood, and the dangers of the internet, which somehow made everything worse. Fans treated these subtweets like decoded messages. A single emoji became a side. A like became an endorsement. Silence became evidence. The culture wasn't listening, it was interpreting. And interpretation is where truth goes to get reshaped. Some defended Wayne fiercely, arguing the clip was ripped from its moment and inflated by people who wanted blood instead of clarity. Others insisted the footage aligned too neatly with years of public tension to be dismissed. Both sides spoke with confidence, which is the internet's favorite accent. What really poured fuel on the fire was the way language drifted. Allegedly began disappearing from conversations even when it stayed in headlines. Viewers replaced caution with certainty, because certainty feels powerful. It makes you feel informed even when you're guessing. The clip stopped being a question and became a symbol for unresolved resentment. For contracts gone wrong, for loyalty that curdled under pressure. Wayne's past interviews were dragged back into the spotlight, stripped of their timelines, and rearranged like puzzle pieces that conveniently fit whatever narrative someone wanted to push. Birdman's past statements were treated the same way. Context wasn't missing. It was ignored. Comparisons grew more absurd as the days passed. Some said watching the clip felt like seeing a family argument through a security camera and deciding you knew the whole story. Others likened it to judging a movie based on a single paused frame. Hyperbole ruled. Because hyperbole doesn't need evidence, it needs attention. And attention was abundant. The story was no longer about what the footage showed. It was about what it represented to people who never trusted the relationship in the first place. Hovering over all of this was the unresolved legacy of Wayne and Birdman's relationship. Mentorship turned ownership. Loyalty turned leverage. Success turned suspicion. That history acted like gasoline, making every spark look like a flame. Fans who lived through the lawsuits, the interviews, the tense reunions, and the uneasy reconciliations felt vindicated by the clip's resurgence, not because it proved anything concrete, but because it confirmed the vibe they never shook. And vibes, online, outrank facts every time. Meanwhile, responsible voices tried to slow the machine. They reminded viewers that viral footage without verified context is a Rorschach test. You see what you bring to it? They pointed out that heated moments don't equal criminal intent, and that speculation can spiral into real harm when it's framed carelessly. But responsibility doesn't trend, it whispers. And whispers get drowned out when outrage starts singing. The louder the speculation grew, the quieter the qualifiers became. The public outrage phase hit its peak when the clip started, crossing into spaces that weren't even about hip-hop anymore. True crime forums, pop culture pages, commentary channels that had never covered Wayne or Birdman suddenly had strong opinions. The story became portable. You didn't need background knowledge to share it. You just needed a reaction, and reactions were plentiful. The internet loves nothing more than a story that lets everyone feel like a detective without doing the work. As this phase crested, the debate fractured into familiar camps. Those who demanded proof versus those who trusted patterns. Those who believed context matters versus those who believed history tells you everything you need to know. Those who saw the clip as a warning versus those who saw it as a weaponized misread. Nobody agreed, but everyone participated. And participation is the only metric the algorithm cares about. By the time the outrage began to tire itself out, the damage to perception was already done. Not because the footage had been proven to show anything definitive, but because it had successfully reactivated doubt. The relationship, already fragile in the public mind, was now back under a microscope. The clip didn't need to be conclusive to be effective. It only needed to be unsettling. And unsettling it was. Because once the internet convinces itself something might be true, it starts behaving as if it already is, by the time the internet's attention span began drifting toward the next outrage. The real consequences of this resurfaced footage were already settling in. Not with sirens or statements, but with perception. And perception is the quiet assassin of reputations. The clip didn't need to prove anything conclusively to do damage. It only needed to exist long enough for people to decide what they felt. It meant once that happened, the conversation stopped being about evidence and became about legacy. And legacy, once questioned, never fully returns to its original shape. For Lil Wayne, the fallout was subtle but heavy. Fans who had always seen him as the product of a complicated mentorship were forced to revisit that story with darker shading. The narrative didn't suddenly turn him into a villain, but it reactivated old doubts. Doubts about how much he endured. Doubts about how much pressure was applied behind closed doors. And doubts about whether unresolved anger ever truly disappears or just waits for the right moment to resurface. Supporters argued that the clip proved nothing beyond how toxic the relationship had been. Critics argued that it revealed a side of Wayne people preferred not to acknowledge. Both sides spoke with conviction, and conviction is often mistaken for truth. Birdman's position became even more complicated. His silence, once read as confidence or indifference, started to feel heavier as the conversation dragged on. In the absence of explanation, speculation fills the void like water finding cracks. Some interpreted his quiet as maturity, a refusal to dignify rumors with attention. Others saw it as avoidance, suggesting that not addressing the footage allowed the worst interpretations to linger. Neither view could be proven, but both gained traction. And when two opposing narratives thrive simultaneously, clarity becomes collateral damage. What this moment truly exposed was how unfinished the Wayne Birdman story still feels to the culture. Public reconciliations never fully erased the bitterness of lawsuits, missed payments, and public disappointment. Fans accepted the peace, but they never trusted it completely. The resurfaced clip acted like a reminder of that unresolved tension, reopening questions that were never answered in the first place. Was the mentorship loving or exploitative? Was the loyalty mutual or conditional? And how much of the pain was ever actually addressed instead of buried under success and silence? Industry perception shifted too, even if quietly. Moments like this don't lead to public blacklists, but they do change conversations in rooms fans never see. Executives, collaborators, and partners pay attention to how narratives evolve, not just how they're denied. When a story resurfaces with this much heat, it forces people to reconsider risk, optics, and association. Not because anyone believes the worst version outright, but because uncertainty makes everyone cautious. And caution, in an industry built on momentum, can slow things down more effectively than criticism ever could. The culture itself wasn't untouched. This episode reignited a broader discomfort with how viral media handles serious allegations. People started questioning whether the internet knows how to discuss disturbing material responsibly, or if shock will always outweigh context. The clip became an example used in arguments about misinformation, speculation, and the thin line between commentary and accusation. Some creators deleted videos after backlash. Others doubled down, claiming censorship whenever responsibility was mentioned. The debate became less about Wayne and Birdman and more about the ecosystem that profits from ambiguity while pretending to seek truth. As days passed, the footage stopped trending, but the residue remained. It became a reference point. Something people brought up in side conversations, comment replies, and future debates about hip-hop's darker chapters. Not as proof, but as suggestion. And suggestion is powerful. It doesn't demand agreement. It invites suspicion. The kind that lingers quietly and resurfaces whenever trust wavers again. What makes this story especially unsettling is that it doesn't resolve cleanly. There's no definitive statement that erases doubt, no footage that clarifies context beyond dispute, no confession or denial that satisfies everyone. It ends the way many viral controversies do: unresolved, emotionally charged, and permanently archived. That's the danger of resurfaced moments in the digital age. They don't just reopen conversations, they rewrite them, sometimes unfairly, sometimes irresponsibly, but always loudly. In the end, this wasn't just about a clip. It was about how quickly the internet turns uncertainty into narrative, narrative into belief, and belief into memory. Wayne and Birdman's relationship has always lived in that uncomfortable space between family and business. Love and leverage. The resurfaced footage didn't define that relationship, but it reminded everyone how fragile its public perception remains. And as the culture moved on, one thing became clear: some stories in hip-hop don't end. They just wait for the algorithm to bring them back. Now that you've seen how one resurfaced clip turned into a full-blown internet firestorm, the real question is this: did the footage actually reveal something new, or did it just reopen wounds the culture never allowed to heal properly? Was this a dangerous misinterpretation fueled by algorithms, or a reminder that some relationships in hip-hop were always more volatile than fans wanted to admit? Drop your honest take in the comments, because pretending this conversation doesn't matter is exactly how narratives get rewritten without anyone pushing back. If this breakdown kept you locked in, smash that like button like it owes you money, and just try to disappear without paying the bill. Subscribe right now if you want commentary that doesn't just chase shock, but digs into why these moments explode the way they do. This channel doesn't do lazy headlines or surface-level reactions. We break down the history, the psychology, and the internet mechanics that turn old footage into new chaos. And trust me, stories like this don't stop coming. They resurface, rebrand, and reload when you least expect them. Hit that notification bell and stay tapped in, because the next viral moment is already sitting in someone's archive waiting for the algorithm to get bored. Same energy, same honesty, same fearless breakdowns. This is the Rap Truth, where nothing is ever as simple as the headline, and the real story always lives underneath the noise.